Suspended in the station. They laid the train tracks back to front, and this caused a great deal of confusion. I didn't mind so much. Where I was going didn't really matter, just as long as I kept moving, I'd be okay. I'm like a shark, I would say, but one of those harmless sharks, like a whale shark or something. I need to keep that water flowing through my gills to stay alive. My gap year after high school turned into 3, and so there I was, sitting on the concrete floor of a Norwegian train station drawing portraits for a living. The station was little more than a repurposed schoolhouse. In the center of the room 4 benches formed a square. All the doors were thrown open despite the gray weather. The construction of the new tracks had the locals irritated and the tourists stupefied. I was almost out of money, and I needed to draw at least 5 more faces if I wanted to go anywhere. I sketched a little blond boy sitting on a bench by the wood-framed window. He thought no one could see him picking his nose. I was more interested in his shining eyes and the curve of his forehead. Pencil scratched paper as I operated both by sight and by memory. My unknowing subject wouldn't stay still. A troop of Asian tourists crowded into the tiny station. They were wearing visors, fanny packs, socks with sandals. This was probably their stopover on the way to Oslo. I almost wished I were with them. I would wear a fanny pack if it meant I could feel the ground under my feet, the water through my gills again. I had my battered sketchbook open to the carefully chosen portrait that I had deemed to be my best. I spread out some other loose-leaf drawings. They were dog-eared and weathered by a lifetime of travel, but I thought that gave them charm. My supplies, what was left of them, were piled next to my crossed legs. "Hallo," I said in my best butchered Norwegian, "portrait 65 krones. I can draw your portrait for 65 krones. A steal at that price if you ask me, but I'm hankering for a sandwich, so you can call me biased." I called out again in French and English. Hopefully something would catch someone's ear. I blended into the woodwork. Some days it was nice, relaxing, a sort of unity with my surroundings. Other days it made me want to scream and wildly flail my limbs like a maniac. "Pay attention to me," I wanted to shriek. "I'm a real person, I don't have rabies, and I'm not trying to steal your money. I'm working for it instead." I pictured myself doing my best octopus impression when an older woman from the Asian tour group bent at the waist to look at my sketchbook. She doesn't know any Norwegian. She said one word to me in English. "Who?" I aimed my chin at the boy with blonde hair. "Oh," the lady looks back and forth between the drawing and the boy. "Very nice. I can draw you too," I mimed my words as I spoke. "Only 65 krones. She waved her hand in a no gesture. Her smile was brief but apologetic as she moved on with her group. Plenty of people looked, but no one had the time or the interest in a portrait. When I had made the trek to the station, I met a cat and named him, or possibly her, I didn't take the time to check the undercarriage, Oscar. I had been thinking about Oscar Wilde. Phrases from his collection, The Happy Prince and Other Stories, had been running through my head over and over. So Oscar it was. It was nice having him, or her, around. Someone to talk to. I could feel the crazy cat lady in me stirring. But Oscar didn't want to see the rest of Norway with me. I was in the middle of my lecture on human social hierarchies and group mentality when he took an interest in a bug, ate it, and turned tail for home. I was sad to see him go. I had already pictured the 2 of us in Oslo, sitting on a hotel balcony overlooking the sculpture park and sipping tea in the late afternoon. No fuzzy companion for me. Not until I met the next Oscar, anyway. I was reminded of how nice it would have been to have a cat or a small dog to stroke while all the passengers ignored me and I grew poorer by the second. I was an artist, doomed to poverty, I knew that. It came with a hypothetical contract I signed the day I decided I wanted to draw. I was living the gypsy life. My backpack was about half the size of a toddler, weighed just as much, and carried everything I valued. The next train pulled in, rattling the window frames and belching clouds of steam. No sleek, shiny model for this countryside station. Instead, a blocky series of cars that rattled on the tracks and were spotted with rust. The herd of tourists boarded the train. The engines creaked and hissed as it pulled away. In the wake of the groaning machine came ear-popping silence. The refreshing whiff of damp earth breezed through the station, followed by the light patter of rain. The patter picked up into a downpour, and I listened for a while before I packed up my things and moved outside. I sat on a bench, alone, at the empty station. Rain dripping from the rusty gutters made a curtain between the platform and the tracks.